off with our next panel. I've got some very good names in the industry with me today. Starting off with Edwin Lee from KorenConX. Welcome, Edwin.
Hi, thank you very much, Prem. I'm glad to be here.
And we have Bilal from Equisafe. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to the show as well. And we have Anupam Gupta from ConsenSys. So let's start off with Anupam. DEF CON is one of the biggest things which is happening every year. ConsenSys is a big part of it, part also of the Ethereum conglomerates as it goes. This year it was in Osaka. Can you let us know how it was?
Well, thanks, Prem, for inviting me. First, I really missed DEF CON. I didn't go there.
The rest of your team went.
Yes. So DEF CON, it's one of our most beloved events, apart from the Ethereum, which is our in-house event, and we have it almost every year in New York. DEF CON is actually, let's say, a festival almost of a different scale of the Ethereum developers across the planet. This year, ConsenSys had a good and a huge contingent there. In fact, from my Dubai office, I know 6 folks were there, and they just fell in love with Japan. And it was excellent. One of the biggest announcements, which on the DevCon has been regarding the timeline of Ethereum 2.0, where I guess Vitalik also had come there, and he spoke at length that what could be the possibilities in the coming 18 to 24 months. The public is very, very enthused. We hope to see Ethereum in all its glory in the next 18 to 24 months. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Last year it was in Prague, in is it Czech? Yeah, Czech Republic.
Yeah.
This year it was in Osaka.
Yeah.
So good to hear.
Yeah.
And I always feel, right? I mean, if we go and do anything, we have to have community. And I believe that, going into DEF CON, it really is that community comes together and thinks and, rebalances, checks and balances, things which you've done, things which are on the wish list, which will always be there.
Yeah.
Anybody who's worked ever in IT understands it's never finished. It's always ongoing. When one version is launched, the next version we have to work very hard to do it going forward. Next to me is then Bilal. Bilal, welcome to Dubai. You've been flying in from France to be with us this week here at the World Blockchain Week, where we have different kind of events happening. You've been part of a hackathon lately and did something phenomenal, basically. Could you share with us what you do with Onera?
Yeah, sure. So the Onera network, who runs on Hyperledger Fabric, is a network that on which we can build an issuance platform. And basically what we did is we migrated our platform that is based on Ethereum on the Onera network. And in just 3 days, we were able to migrate the platform and demo in front of almost 3,000 people from France, live, the platform. It took us like 25 minutes. We've shown all the features from account creation, KYC, issuance, restriction setting, transfer restriction, collaborative aspect of the platform, and it was just great. And we won that competition in front of companies from Silicon Valley, and we haven't put a feet in Los Angeles, so that was great.
Congratulations on that.
Thank
because
you.
That's a phenomenal way to be in. And again, a hackathon, less sleep and more, either coding or whatever your specialty is, trying to get the presentation ready to pitch. It's really, I love the atmosphere. Unfortunately, here in the UAE, we do not have that many hackathons like we have back in Europe, where the hackathon kind of culture has been created. Of course, also in the US, for sure. But more importantly is the fact that, you also believe then if you can work together as a team, under high pressure and deliver something, then you're really able to, deliver also future projects going forward. I always say, you have to have a fantastic team put together, but if you are able to work under pressure, under a strict deadline to deliver, that's really where you can count each other to, deliver good projects also in future. So congratulations on that.
Thank
again.
you.
And next to me I have Edwin Lee of KorenConX. So KorenConX and Oscar Joffrey obviously did something really amazing. You guys have introduced the infrastructure of trust. Could you
Yes.
tell me what this is?
Infrastructure of trust is taking the next step to what KorenConX has always been doing, and what Oscar and Jason and Dr. Kron has always been envisioning for the private capital markets.
Okay.
And this is what KorenConX is doing. It's only focused on the private capital markets. We have already 80,000 plus companies, private companies across the world using the platform. Over 80 plus broker dealers already using on our ecosystem. Over 600 core partners that are already partnered, from securities lawyers to IR experts, broker dealers, as I mentioned, consultants, all understanding from a private capital markets point of view, and focused on what does the issuer need and requires, and lowering, let's say, you can never remove the friction that's involved with a private company, a private issuer that's raising capital around the world, and what's required. And that's what KorenConX is focused on. And the infrastructure of trust is just another leading edge thing that I think what Oscar and I said Dr. Kron and Jason have done in terms of taking steps to help issuers around the world to raise money. It's creating that trust, infrastructure of trust around the world, where a company in India can raise money in America, a company in Australia can raise money in Canada, and at the lowest cost and the lowest time that we can make it to meet global regulations.
So one of the biggest pain points right now in capital raising is basically, if you go through the IPO route, which is a very costly and time-consuming route, you have to be minimum $100 million raise to be able to go out of there. I mean, we saw also things can go wrong. I don't have to talk that much about WeWork, but more importantly is the fact that a $20 million raise or a $30 million raise is like unheard of in present days.
That's where I've been doing decades of raising money for private companies and helping companies go IPO or listing on a stock exchange, whether it's in London, Toronto, Hong Kong, even here locally here at exchanges here. Yeah, it requires a certain amount of capital raising minimum to make the cost make sense to do an IPO. But now when you're able to use technology today, whether it's with KorenConX or other types of platforms that are out there in the market, all of us are wanting to, how do we help the issuer to lower that cost so they get access to the investors. But what do the investors want? They want to trust that company that they're putting money into.
True.
Right? So I think ICO proved the world that we can't regulate ourselves, and that's the truth. So and that's what happened. I don't want to go in that space right now, but what we do now is then saying, well, how do we use technology to transmit that trust between investors to issuers? And if we can do that using technology, wow, we're going to be going to a magnificent place in terms of how we put money towards things that we believe in, put money towards things that really should be financed, rather than a few people around this world that dictates where that money should be focused into. So really democratizing capital.
Got it. And I mean, you've been in the space of capital market for a long time, and so you understand that this platform which you are using is basically going to enhance. Can anybody be part of this infrastructure of trust, or
you have to be a regulated entity to be part of the infrastructure of trust? Hence, it's on a permission-based chain. I use a word, the tenets of financial markets. I use it from Grip Investments. I use that word. Doesn't allow for a public chain to work.
All right.
And a private permission chain is really how we need people who have the ability, the experience, the license, let's say, to be able to give permission to certain financial transactions are in there to allow certain transactions to be approved, let's say.
All right. All right. Thank you for explaining that. Anupam, you guys also got a big announcement which basically happened in London about Codify. Could you explain what Codify is and what ConsenSys wants with this suite of products?
Yeah. So Codify is actually a big platform which we now call it as the Codify OS, the operating system for the blockchain world. And the operating system now has all the infrastructure layers which are required to build applications on top of it.
Okay.
Codify definitely is focused towards, or the mission is to build decentralized finance in the world. So it is kind of a catalyst and the bridge to develop all the stuff on this platform. Right now, people have been doing it, but there has been a disconnect in doing it using various kind of technologies. Yeah, definitely open source or maybe licensed products. But if you utilize this particular product, you do not have to wander here and there. So you can directly build a very, very effective decentralized finance tool on top of this product. So let's give an example on Codify. The operating system contains of a cloud layer, then a blockchain platform as service layer, a blockchain layer, and in top of it, a contractual layer also, a layer which can manage contracts also.
Okay.
And on top of it, you have a full set of API suites to develop any kind of applications. One of the, for us, an STO platform would be one of the products of the whole platform. So we this is one of the products which we have brought in the market also, but this won't stop here. STO has a special purpose of raising capital.
Yes.
But any kind of instrument, or let's say any kind of data flow, if parties agree to it, you can tokenize that data element.
Yes.
And then use that token for various kind of business models or usage within the ecosystem. Codify platform really helps you do it in a very, very simplified manner. It is highly configurable, and with time we will be configuring, making it more simple for the public to use. And you will find, as we talked about hackathons, etc. So there would be a lot of companies which would be interested in such kind of platform. We could have hackathons to develop very, very quick products to showcase, but what we are saying, it's a very mature product. It's for the industry. The industry can take it and start developing products.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. So I'm not a programmer. I mean, I learned Turbo Pascal when I was in university, and then had to learn myself some Visual Basic to make Excel do some funny stuff. But more importantly, I mean, could I, as a non-programmer, basically use your suite of products or operating system to build something?
So I don't have a very exact answer for this. You definitely need some technical skills, but because largely the product in the form factor you will be acquiring would be an installable version. So if you install it, any kind of application on top of it definitely is very business user friendly. So suppose you are a fund manager who's issuing out STOs.
Mm-hmm.
At least the user interface or the user experience for you to do it would be pretty easy.
Got it.
I will not comment on the exact coding part or how you would be making custom built applications. Let the others earn also something.
Got it. So I mean, it would be very interesting to see in the coming months who's going to adapt to your suite of products.
We have got a lot of traction from the market for this suite, especially fintechs were pretty much excited to see this kind of platform where they can actually build very, very quick products and because they have the agility to do it and go to maybe KorenConX or some bank and display those products in a very, very fast manner.
All right, all right. So you touched on decentralized finance, which is going on, and I always look right now. I mean, I also look at a daily basis what's happening in the market. So decentralized finance, or DeFi, as we know it, is a hot topic. A lot of projects doing interesting stuff about lending. Of course, stablecoins are there, but a lot of things happening. But on the other hand, the digital securities market, which is something which is also close to my heart, and want to see how this is going on. So Bilal, could you explain how are you in this market, with Equisafe, exploring options going forward?
So we're doing pretty much as well, like Codify or KorenConX. I think what is important is the vision, and the vision is to build the infrastructure both on-chain and off-chain. And I think KorenConX got it right, because they want to build a network of partners, and basically we're doing the same. But the way we present ourselves is more like a legal tech. So basically we are building the smart contract for not only the token issuance, but for the shareholders agreement, to code it on-chain, for the restriction depending on the distribution method and the country of origination. So that's how we present ourselves, and I will join our friend from ConsenSys saying it's important, if you want adoption, to build something with an interesting user, with a very flawless, frictionless user experience, highly parameterizable, and actually when you want to use the Equisafe platform, if you got all the materials, legals, etc., it takes only 30 minutes and you don't need any tech background.
Wow.
And basically, we're known for the first tokenization of real estate in Europe, the real estate mansion of 6.5 million euro in Paris. We've been very quiet since June when we've done that, because we believed we needed to build more features on the platform to create more value proposition. And our next tokenization is on the 6th of November. And we're going to monetize the loan capacity of someone for the 15% of French people who don't have access to credit.
Got it.
And so we're really both focused on infrastructure and trying to create new markets.
Got it. Got it.
But I agree, if I can add something, I agree that the STO word is very reductive. It's not about just fundraising, it's about digitizing securities. That's why we focus on the shareholders agreement to program it on-chain, to make transaction frictionless. And then you can do private or public offerings, but mostly you need to be able to handle all the life cycle of a securities, whether it is dividends, fixed income, buybacks, in order to create more and more value proposition.
So, and Bilal, just before you can, of course, ask a question to Bilal, was there a real conscious choice to go for Ethereum, or was it something which happened, basically?
But it's something that just happened for multiple reasons. Most of the documentation and programs were available in Ethereum. So I used to be a researcher in statistical physics, and the programming language I was using was really close to Solidity. So in terms of go-to-market for developing, it was the natural network to go to. With the hackathon, we've been building on Hyperledger because we believe that to lower the risk of forks or congestion of network, we need to be able to address different blockchain and let the user choose after explaining him what are the pros and cons. And we're going even deeper because the smart contracts, we call them the NIC standards that we've developed on Ethereum, we're going to translate them into Tezos, and we're going to release an open source MIT license, the whole suite of smart contract, so that people can also build on top of Tezos if they want. Tezos is a very interesting network for both formal verification, for both on-chain governance, for both transaction speed. And so we're very bullish both on Tezos and all the other network. I know when the upgrade of Ethereum will come in, it's going to be still a challenger for other networks. But in the end, what people need to remember is that for the end user, the investors, it's just a matter of wallets, and he won't see the difference between Ethereum, Corda, or Tezos.
True. So, I mean, if nobody would ever ask that, what kind of technology you're using in the background. It's all about that user experience, which is so important for everyone to to have that easy of use, that that layout which a child can basically use. I mean, that is the real end at times. I use MetaMask at times to do Ethereum transactions, and at times I feel that I really need to be a coder or something to really get the grasp of it, and that's is holding a lot of people back to go into this market. So I totally agree with you that the user experience is absolutely very much needed, and what's happening in the background, it's R3 Coda or anything else, Hyperledger or Ethereum, it doesn't matter that much. And Edwin,
if I may add, it's just like when we're talking outside, it's like whether you're using iOS, whether you're using Android, or maybe the future Huawei's new operating system.
Okay.
You have these different operating systems out there that different people use. I would think in let's say you're doing the digital securities world, you're going to have different technology and blockchains that people will feel comfortable in using. I think Bilal is right in saying that a lot of people focus on issuance, and issuance is only one part of the life cycle of an issuer. So if the platform is helping them, a company, alleviate some of the pain that they're going through when they're taking public money, and how do we meet those standard or requirements and rules and regulations, that's the life cycle of a private company taking money from the public. So what are the reporting requirements? What are the rules and regulations that meet in different countries that have investors from different countries on? What are the hold period before my digital securities are to be traded? What are their warrants and options, debentures? What if I want to do an IPO or an RTO? Or what if I just want a regular bank loan? Those are the things that you want to look at as a platform.
Not available bank loan.
We want to in the future. The banks banks who are not involved with it, they're going to be left in the caves, right? So banks are going to be, wanting to loan companies, SMEs companies. They should be on looking at things like that. I'm surprised if they wouldn't be. Because the technology exists today to do it. So we're not talking something that's going to come in the future today.
Yes.
It's about infrastructure and ecosystem.
That's right.
Because you have people think that blockchain will disintermediate most of the people. I think it will make them permissionless, because you will still need custodians' roles, you will still need broker-dealers to distribute. Yeah. It's very hard to raise funds without a placement agent or someone to do the placement. Yeah. So those intermediaries, during all the financial history, they're here for a good reason. They have a specific role. What you can automate is small parts, specifically on the compliance and the traceability. But you need, when you issue a token, it needs to interact with both regulators, both the custodians, both the issuer, both the investors, etc., etc.
And I'll give an example here. I absolutely concur with your point that these technologies are actually helping the development of core competencies of the organization. So these technologies don't have to be taken with a sense of fear that my whole job or the kind of job my company does would be diluted, but it is giving you a chance to do your work in a more focused manner. So we have an example. We work with a real estate company in France called the Meta Capital, and you must be knowing about
they tokenized just after us.
Yeah, so they tokenized their shares, but what they did, they worked with one of the notaries also. It's called Scribe Notaries.
Yeah, we also both worked with them.
So, okay, that's a coincidence. But Meta when it was coming out with its tokens, basically, they required a notary basically for stamping it out, and the notaries had a node to see it and notarize each and every token which is going. So there's a lot of public trust in this particular process where people say, okay, fine, it is properly notarized by this person. Otherwise, the whole notary job would have to be a hell lot of compliance, a hell lot of paperwork. Now they can just focus on this particular thing, and if somebody goes to them, they can actually issue a paper share also to them. So this is the
Yeah,
good
no,
common.
right, and that's where, from coming from, financial world, what are the biggest costs of paying sometimes is when you work with an issuer, a company that wants to raise money, and you meet a lot of them. I would say 90% of them, even maybe 99% of them, are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. I say, you got all your documents ready? Yes. Your share cap table? Yes. All your corporate documents? Yes. But then when you go through due diligence, it's like, who's this shareholder that says that they had 10% of your company invested 5 years ago? Then we just like, oh, I don't remember Robert. Robert, I forgot about Robert. So, what is this bank account that's been sitting around back in London for all this time that hasn't been really used but still has some money sitting in it? Oh, that was my aunt who owned shares back then when I first started, and she helped me out. And it's like, so you got all these things that with private companies when they start off, they have all these issues that they always invariably always experience. And this is how being through a system like blockchain can offer, or digital securities can offer, is putting the issuers through the processes. So the documentation that's been on the chain has actually been verified by the right and appropriate people. So then when due diligence comes in, it can be quick and fast, right? So if you don't have it, then you should have those things ready. So when a broker dealer comes in, what do they want? They want to raise money.
Yes.
That's how they make money.
Absolutely.
Right? So they want to go. They don't want to go and have interview and listen to a potential issuer and say, and hear all this great story of how they want to change the world with their great product or service, and say, are you ready for investment? Oh yeah, I want to raise $50 million. But when you do due diligence, it's not ready.
Yes.
Then 1 month goes by, 2 months goes by, and it's like, okay, that's wasting time.
Got it.
That's cost money.
Yeah, and probably the fintechs can take it because they can develop these products. KYC or due diligence is a very big spaghetti problem, and there's a lot of duplication every time happens.
Yes.
So with using blockchains or networks like this, if it has been done once, why it has been done
Exactly.
in times? It could be just simply mutually KYC, and there could be a business model around it also. So which is
Of course,
money spinner.
It's multiple products
Yeah.
within one product
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
to create
method.
this ecosystem.
So before I let you guys go, a very quick answer on this one. So I need your attention. I mean, you can say your favorite project which you see right now. It cannot be your own project. So Anupam, I'm going to start with you.
I would take it last. Actually, I'm very self-obsessed.
Okay. But is there any project you really look at and like, whoa, this is something unique these guys are doing?
I mean, I have been talking to many of the clients, and they are coming up with various different ideas. Recently, we were working with a client who's trying to create a disruption in the working capital market,
Okay.
which has not been done before in a very structured format. And he wants to use the technology for this particular thing. I mean, in what he's thinking, that the expanse is such that the working capital market is around $55 trillion dollars in the world today. If you can just have a slice of it,
Okay.
he's made his life. So these are the projects which excite me the most.
Got it.
Yeah.
Any project which comes to mind?
I would say Tezos, because I've been working with them for the past couple of months. But to be honest, I've been working so much that I haven't looked around. Like Simon Sinek would say, my only competitor is myself, and my only
True.
objective is to survive the longest possible.
Beautifully said. Edwin.
Okay, let's see. Other than that, they're doing a digital security, but what they're doing in terms of operationally is connecting between digital documents to your digital self, combining that into a wallet that then goes into a market system. So that for governments who want to help their social system, they have a lot of money for it, but the money that can't get to the people who need it. So when you create a digital wallet and they digitize the currency,
Yes.
and then they can distribute that to a wallet, which the unbankable can now have a wallet now to get access to a QR code that can go to a pharmacy or hospital to get what they need to a grocery store. That's pretty cool.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on. It's been phenomenal talking to you guys. So much things happening in the market. I want to congratulate you all three for doing phenomenal work in our community going forward. And I hope to see you guys in the next panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.